So, what's the most common issue I would see with clients on a daily, weekly basis? Whether they're in for addiction, whether they're in for depression, whether they're in for anger, confidence, is something which is very, very common out there. People having this inner thought or inner voice or feeling that they're just not good enough. And it's an amazing thing. It's like when you give somebody a compliment, I'm sure it's probably the same around the world, but when you give somebody a compliment in Ireland, especially a girl, nice dress, the first thing she'll have to do is to devalue the value of the comment by saying, oh, I got it in pennies, or, your hair is lovely. Oh, my friend did it. She's practicing as a hairdresser or whatever. But people feel uncomfortable when they get a compliment. Okay. And why would you feel uncomfortable if somebody said to you something nice, about you, or something nice about what you've done? It's because the value of the compliment is uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar, you see. And that's why people will just automatically sort of devalue the value of the compliment that they receive. Like, sure, you know yourself, sure, sure, anybody could have done that or whatever. And it's quite a common thing. And the problem with it is it comes down to what we call emotional value, your own emotional state and value of who you are. Now, it's irrelevant whether you have lots of good things in your life, like, house, good job, lots of money, holidays, and all that. They're nice, don't get me wrong. But it still doesn't alleviate the problem of just not feeling good enough inside. I would deal with a lot of ladies as well, and for just how their body image and how they look and all that sort of stuff. No matter how good they look, they will still have this inner critic, and not just I'm not good enough and I'm bad this, I'm a bad mother, I'm a bad daughter, I'm a bad sister, I'm a bad friend, and it's just this toxic trait. So where does that sort of stuff come from? Well, it comes from early experiences. It comes from especially the first 6, 7 years of every child's life is the most suggestible time of their life. You have to understand something about the mind. Up to the age of 7, we're pure emotion. You know, we don't have the logical facility in our brain just yet. We don't have the logical or the rational responses to situations. So everything is an emotional experience for us. And we're being brought up by adults who are in their logical world. They're using logic, and more times than not, we're being brought up by adults who have their own trauma, their own issues. Whether your mother has never been hugged or shown how to, give value, or was never given value herself, she probably struggled to give it to her daughter, and so on. Some people break the cycle, but it's very common that, if you're brought up a certain way, well, then that's the way you'll bring up your children too, especially when you go back a generation or two as well. So if you're looking at confidence, for instance, it's about having a value, an emotional value, not a financial value, not a material value, but an emotional value, just to feel enough, to be good enough, to like yourself, and actually start to love yourself, which is a strange concept, isn't it? When people feel uncomfortable when you say that to them, you should love yourself. They're like, oh, I can't be loving myself, I'd be an asshole. I go, no, 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 not going around like arrogance. I love myself. It's just an inner love for yourself and acceptance for yourself. um, you know, this is not a competition. This is an experience. And we'll all have good experiences and bad experiences, but it's how you react is the real key. So if you're struggling with addiction, it comes down to the fact that there's a lot of probably hurt and anger, unfairness and injustice you've experienced in life, and that feeling is so uncomfortable to us that every time you are still, if you like, you haven't got distractions, or you're not busy or disassociated from the feeling, you have to soothe it, whether it's with alcohol or drugs or wherever, food, doesn't really matter. No confidence in yourself, not speaking in when you're out with your friends and you find it hard to speak to them. Why? Because you feel that no matter what you're about to say, doesn't carry the value of the other people in the group. Like, I would have experienced that growing up, with social anxiety, no confidence, depression as well. If I'm honest, I didn't know it. I used to struggle, and sitting out with my friends, and they'd be all yapping away, and I'd be trying to think of something to say that would be interesting. I'd trying to think of something to say that wouldn't be stupid or to be rejected as such. And that's why we find it hard to be confident. And so if you're struggling with all these things, the one thing you have to understand it, it all comes from the emotional part of us. The subconscious mind is the emotional mind, you know. It's where all your feelings come from, all your habits, your beliefs, your long term memory, and your survival instinct and all that. But that's the real you, you know. The logical part makes up only a small percentage of us, you know, but we are emotional experiences, emotional beings, you know. So if you're struggling with confidence, if you're struggling with addiction, if you're struggling with just liking yourself, if you're getting yourself into bad relationships, it's probably because your value in yourself is down, way below where it should be, and you're making bad choices with your partners. You're nearly, you know, attracting people who have the ability to live the life that you would perceive as your value, you know. So if you don't feel good enough, blah blah blah, well, then you're not probably going to look for somebody who's appropriate for you, and you might end up with somebody who's not appropriate for you. But any love is better than none, sort of thing, you know. Anyway, that's just my ramblings here, waiting for my daughter to kick off a football game here. So hope you're all well. Have a great weekend, folks, and look after each other.